Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, definitely having a bit of a media blitz today because trying to get out a lot of thoughts and a lot of different viewpoints that I've had over the last, 24 to 48 hours. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about something that I know a lot of people are wondering. How do the Detroit Lions beat the Green Bay Packers tomorrow on Thanksgiving? What's the recipe? What's the plan? What's the process? How do they get that crucial win? Well, the best way I can put it is in terms of when a chef makes a dish. Hence the reason why I have in my title, Secret Sauce. Because you have to think about it. Whenever a chef puts together the ingredients for a particular dish, they must make sure that they have everything they need and to follow the steps for that said recipe. Deviations from what makes a particular dish successful can be, well, for lack of a better word, disastrous, and should only be done after perfecting the standard way of making said dish. This same concept applies when it comes to offensive and defensive game planning in football, which is first assess the enemy, which is figure out what your recipe is, assess how you're going to beat it, how you're going to make it. Number 2, you have to prepare, which means you have to assemble the players, you have to assemble the ingredients, so that way you can then execute the recipe, execute the game plan to beat the enemy. And then you have to put them in the right spot to perform. You have to put it all together so that way the dish can then cook. Recipe, ingredients, cook, pretty much building upon the whole, cooking thought process here. Now, let me just put this out here for you. If there's one thing we can definitely say about the opponent that we got coming up here is that the Lions know who their enemy is. They've played the Packers a ridiculous number of times. They know who this team is. They know what they do well. They know what they don't do well. They know how to beat them. They know the best way to beat them. And I'm just going to put it out there for what it is. They know what they need to do in order to execute the game plan and compete in this game. So what is the plan? What is the secret sauce? What is that quote-unquote recipe that the Lions have to do? Well, the answer to that question of what is the Lions' secret sauce, it's not all that complicated, to be entirely honest. But, going to emphasize this, but that does not mean it's going to be easy in order to achieve the end result. I don't care what you want to try and potentially say. It's not going to be easy. Any dish that you try to make that is a really good dish, it's not easy. It gets easier over time. But that doesn't mean all of a sudden it just becomes easy and you can literally do it with your eyes closed. You still got to actually pay attention. You still got to actually prepare it the right way. So what are the steps? What's the process? Well, in my honest opinion, there's 3 steps. Step number 1, you got to get the running game going. You've got to get it going, and you've got to get it going early. I know it sounds cliche. I know everybody says it. But when it comes to this particular game, there is a particular reason why I'm saying this. And again, it's because I take a look at data trends. It's because I take a look at what's happened in the past. I pay attention to more than just, what's the stats? I pay attention to what's happened in other games. I pay attention to what has happened in the Packers' losses. I pay attention to a whole spectrum of things. Which, let me put this out there for you. In every game that the Packers have either lost or tied, the Packers gave up pretty much 100 yards of rushing on the ground. The only game that they lost or tied that it wasn't that way, I think was, I'm trying to remember, it wasn't against the Cowboys. It could have been against the Browns or some other team. I can't remember. But the point is that in every single game where the Packers have lost, they've given up virtually 100 yards or more on the ground. So, what does that tell me? Well, pretty simple. The ability to get the running game going and to open up those rushing lanes is critical. And the reason why it's critical is because, number one, it's going to keep the edge rushers from pinning their ears back, and it's also going to be critical for keeping the entire defense of the Packers from, coming up close to the line, playing close to the offensive line, and shutting down the Lions' entire offense. You have to make sure that you have a successful running game to make sure that you keep the defense honest. Now, should a Packers fan decide to actually, click on this and get a different perspective rather than just their own biased opinion, they're going to want to say, well, we've had other games where we've given up 100 yards or more, but, we didn't lose those games, so your point's invalid. Well, that's why that's only step one. There's 2 more steps to this whole process, which those 2 steps play directly into what I'm talking about here. Again, there is no such thing as a one ingredient dish. Unless, of course, somebody already made it for you, and then it's just like, okay, you open up the package, and then you just go to town. Not the case when you're actually making something. It usually takes more than just one damn ingredient. That's why I'm saying it's more than a one-step process here. So that was process step number 1. What's process step number 2? Process step number 2 is the quarterback. The quarterback is going to have to be smart with the football in this game. That's Jared Goff. Why do I say that? Well, the reason I say that is because in those 4 games that I'm talking about where the Packers either lost or they tied, the quarterback typically did a pretty good job of protecting the football. I'm not saying that they played well per se. I'm simply saying they did a pretty good job of protecting the football, which when the quarterback does that, it definitely increases your chances of winning the game. Which means this: Jared Goff is going to have to find a way to limit turnovers to 1 or less. Now, understand what I mean by that. That's not to say Jared Goff has had a turnover problem this year. In fact, the exact opposite is true. But what I'm trying to say is if the Lions, not only just Goff, on offense can limit turnovers to 1 or less, that's going to be crucial for them. Because in each of the games that I referred to, those 4 games, the quarterbacks in those games had literally either 1 turnover or less, except for 1. The only quarterback that did not have a turnover when they played against the Packers, and it was either a loss or a tie, was Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Every other quarterback had either a fumble or an interception. But they still won. Now, while the Lions can live with 1 turnover, if they really want to open the game up and they really want to find a way to, establish an ability to win this game more than, eking it out, they would most likely want to prefer to have no turnovers. Because they don't want the Packers fixing a beat on them. And what does that mean for Goff? It means that we've got to keep Goff upright and we've got to keep him protected, which, let's just call for what it is. That's no small task, especially when you're facing off against Micah Parsons. Because Micah Parsons is definitely going to be somebody that is going to definitely make your afternoon more difficult in that department. But I'm going to say this right now. It's not impossible either. What it means for the Lions is they're going to have to use tight ends. They're going to have to use extra linemen to offset the pass rush to help deal with the threat that, Parsons presents. And the best way to do that, in my opinion, is to, again, go back to the one team that offensively has really given the Packers a run for their money, which, coincidentally, is Parsons' old team. The Cowboys. What other team in the NFL would know better than to try and beat him, to try and mitigate him, to try and neutralize his threat, but the team he came from? And you want to go back and you want to check that game tape. You want to go back and you want to see, okay, what did the Cowboys do in that game to try and potentially slow down Micah Parsons that you can perhaps glean and put into your own game plan a little bit? Because let me show you something here. Take a look at what Dak Prescott did in Week 4 against the Packers this year. Prescott completed 77% of his throws for 319 yards for 8 an average a throw, had 3 passing touchdowns for 7.5 touchdown percentage rate per throw, no interceptions, which means no interception percentage rate per throw, 124.9 passer rating with a 95.3 QBR. That is, again, I'm not really a big Prescott fan, but that is damn impressive. That is ridiculously impressive. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, what was the last time that Jared Goff did when he played against the Packers at home? You got to go back to last year for that one, which was Week 14. In that game, Jared Goff did this. He completed 78% of his passes for 283 yards, 6.9 an average a throw, 3 passing touchdowns for 7.3 touchdown percentage rate per throw, 1 interception for 2.4 interception percentage rate per throw, 109.7 passer rating with a 90.3 QBR. What does that tell me? That tells me that, okay, Dak Prescott was at home when he played against the Packers in Week 4 in the Dallas Cowboys home stadium, Jerry World. The last time that Jared Goff played at home against the Packers last year, he played at pretty much the exact same level as Dak Prescott. Now, some people are going to say, well, David, that doesn't make any sense because, oh, that's right, last year the Packers didn't have Micah Parsons. This year they do. Okay, that is correct. That is different. But let's understand something here. When Dak Prescott played against the Packers in Week 4, he didn't have CeeDee Lamb, just like how Goff's not going to have Sam Laporta. Oh, and then if you go back to 2024, the last time that, Goff played against the Packers in that game, most of the Lions' defense was also pretty much injured for that game, which is not the case this time around. So what I'm trying to get at here is there's a lot of different things about this whole thing that are changed. But the Lions' offense, for the most part, still has the same players. And on top of that, if there's one thing we know is the Lions' offense is perhaps the most explosive offense in the NFL. It's having problems with consistency, no doubt about that one. But explosive, there is nothing about that has changed. The Lions are still an offense that can literally take one play and go the whole length of the field. No doubt about that. My whole point is this. You keep Jared Goff protected. You keep him upright. You give him time. He will get the job done. Just like what the Cowboys did for Dak Prescott back in Week 4. That's my point with that. So that's point number 2, step number 2. Which is in essence a 2-part step because it means also not only keeping Goff protected, but it also means limiting turnovers, which is an entire offensive capacity, not just Goff. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. When you take a look at that Cowboys game that I just talked about, not coincidentally, the Cowboys had over 100 yards rushing in that game. And again, some people are going to ask me or they're going to want to disagree with me and say, well, wait a minute here. The Cowboys put up 40 in that game and the freaking Packers, they put up 40. So what makes you think that the Lions can win then? Well, there's 2 reasons I think they can win. Number 1, the Cowboys do not have our grit factor. They don't even come close to equaling it, measuring up to it, not even in the same ballpark. Let's just call it for what it is. The Cowboys, they have talent, but grit, they do not. Second reason, the Packers have only gotten over 30 points offensively only twice all year. Like most of their games, they're scoring maybe 24, 27 points. Most of their games. Which, that's not to say that's bad, but let's understand something here. The Lions, on the other hand, rather than only scoring 30 points or more in just 2 games, the The Lions have done it in 6 out of the 11 games that they've played, including a 40-burger and a 50-burger. So it's like, okay here, that's a little bit different. The Lions, let's just call it for what it is. Yes, they have inconsistency on offense, but they are not sporadic when it comes to scoring points. The Packers are sporadic. In 2 out of 11 games, you've only scored 30 points or more offensively. The Lions have done it 6 out of 11 games. That's a completely different kettle of fish. So, let's just call it for what it is here. If the Lions are able to crack the 30-point barrier, which there's no doubt in my mind that they can, by running the ball over 100 yards, which was the first step that I mentioned, keep Goff protected, limit turnovers, which was all step 2, the Lions can most certainly win offensively because the Packers' offense, quite frankly, it's just not going to be able to keep up. They have not proven or shown that over the course of this season. So, that's explaining step 2 and step 1 in tandem. But what about step 3? Step 3 is this. Again, I know it's going to sound cliche as hell, but Campbell is right when it comes to this statement. The Lions are going to need at least one takeaway on defense. If you check every single game that the Packers have lost or tied this year, yet again, each and every single game the Packers lost or tied, they turned the ball over at least one time. In fact, in 2 of those 4 games, the Packers turned the ball over twice, which was actually the Panthers game and the Eagles game. And it doesn't matter how you get it. It can be either an interception or it can be a fumble, because in some games they did both. That's my whole point there. If you get a turnover, you then have the capability to make points off of it. Now again, that goes more back to the Lions being more consistent on offense. But I believe that they're getting there. Are they there yet? No, but they're getting there. But again, it also goes back to the fact that literally all it takes for the Lions is one damn play. One damn play. For the Packers, they don't have that capability. They're a team that literally takes whole long-ass drives to try and score points. One play is not something that they typically do. So, step 1, run the ball for over 100 yards. Step 2, keep Goff protected and upright and limit turnovers. Step 3, get at least one turnover on defense. If you follow that very simple, albeit not necessarily easy to achieve, but simple process of step 1, step 2, step 3, Lions can win this game. They can absolutely win this game. It's been done in the past. Like I said, every single game that the Packers have either tied or lost, all those things happened. The quarterback limited turnovers, the offense limited turnovers. The quarterback either had a really good game in the terms of Dak Prescott, or they just did enough to keep the team afloat. You keep the game open by running the ball for over 100 yards, and your defense gets at least one turnover. It's a very simple recipe, but it's going to mean that you have to play very sound, fundamental football, which I guarantee you, the Lions know that, and Dan Campbell has been instilling that in his players ever since the game against the Giants got over with. So, I am confident that the Lions, knowing that, will find some way to try and execute it. And when they're trying to do what they're supposed to do and follow the game plan, more often than not, they succeed. That's my whole point with this episode. So, you do with that information what you will. But, having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. And please do subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Also, if you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you forgot to do, if you just subscribed and you not yet had a chance to do so, please by all means, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content that I push out. I hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. And I hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving tomorrow with your friends, family, and loved ones. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.